guys, it's Jason with Napier Photography, and today I wanted to show you some of the shots from the Tennessee-Georgia game that I shot with my Sony A9. Just to give you a little bit of background, I shot what's called the Tennessee Experience for the University of Tennessee. It's basically an event that I come in and shoot the last couple of years. Last year I shot the Florida game. This year I got to come in and shoot the Georgia game, but one of the perks of getting to shoot the Tennessee Experience is getting to shoot the football game afterwards. You know, I take a group of people out pregame and get shots of them, and then I get to actually stay on the sidelines and shoot. So it's pretty cool. Getting credentials at any sporting event is just amazing. But so what I'm going to be doing, I'm just going to share you some of the shots and kind of give you my honest opinion and just show you the photos. I kept the Sony 100-400 G Master lens as the new, what they consider their sports lens right now for the Sony camera system, and the new flagship Sony A9. And so I shot a bunch of shots in this. I shot at all different types of shutter speeds. I used all different levels of ISO, and so I'm just going to show you some of the photos. Got one of the Georgia cheerleaders to get a nice little picture for me, and I just want to kind of show you just the amazing quality that this camera and these mirrorless systems can give you. I mean, it's 24 megapixels. I mean, which is amazing, and it really runs well on a computer at this size. I mean, you bring them in, and if you shoot, and just to tell you, no matter if you're shooting RAW or JPEG, I think this camera system is amazing. I shoot pretty much JPEG fine pretty much all the time, and a lot of photographers are going to make fun of the fact that I do that, because I used to shoot RAW all the time, but with sports photography, there's just so many photos, it's hard to do that. But I just want to show you the details. I mean, look here, you can see the reflection behind me of the people behind me on this helmet, guys. I mean, these mirrorless camera systems are not a joke at all. I mean, this is their sports lens. Here's Ethan Wolf right here, but this is considered their sports camera. And like I say, it's not just meant for fast moving objects and for baseball and football. I mean, the portraits and the still shots that I'm able to get with this camera system are unbelievable. I mean, here's Daniel Batuli. You know, I'm pretty far away from him when I took these shots, so you can see that. I mean, guys, they're just amazing. I mean, the shots that I was able to get. So anyway, like I said, I've had the Sony A9 for a few weeks now, and there's just nothing that I can do with this camera, or that I try to do with this camera, that it can't handle. I mean, like I said, I have the Sony A6000, I have the Sony A7 II, and I've shot all of them sports. I mean, last year I shot the Sony A6000 with a 70-200 lens along with my A7 II, and it did amazing. There's Quentin Dormady right there warming up prior to the game. And then let's get down here. Oh, sweet little Carrie Summers. She's actually one of our majorettes. She's our head majorette. And last year I did her senior photo shoot with Andrew Vogel, who was our drum major last year. He's not there this year, but she's still there, and hoping that I'm going to be doing another little senior session for her. We talked a little bit about that at the game, but like I said, these are just the pre-game shots that I was taking, because I just wanted to have a few of these. But you probably saw this in the video, but I mean, just the details in the eyes and all of that with this camera and that lens combination. You know, obviously I would love to have a 2.8, but right now this is what Sony has, the 4.5 to 5.6 100-400. And the really cool thing that I did with this is I put it in super crop mode and basically turned it into a 150-600 lens. And I mean, guys, I mean, it just doesn't get. I mean, besides the fact that it's a pretty little dancer there. I mean, it's just a beautiful photo. I got some pictures of Uga and our cheerleaders and the majorettes prior to the game, and our colors when they were brought out, which they always do a great job. This is when they run out the tee and everything beforehand. But so I brought this camera in. I actually rented or used borrowedlenses.com to get the 100-400, and I was really lucky because it pretty much had been rented out up until the date, like just a few days before this game. So I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get it. So I got it in, and if you haven't used borrowed lenses, guys, they're amazing. I mean, as long as you send it back to them, it's got prepaid mailing on the way back. So I mean, you really can't. Somebody trying to reserve for a football game tomorrow night. And so let me talk to you about this camera. Let me talk to you about the shutter speeds and ISO and things on this camera. I have yet to push this camera to the point to where there's any amount of grain that I would consider something that would make a shot unusable. Now, I will tell you, a lot of sports photographers will tell you that you need to be shooting at 1,000th of a second, no matter what. And I do try to do that a lot. But the thing that I learned with these Sony mirrorless systems, and you guys can chime in that have these that shoot sports. Don't chime in if you've not tried it, okay? But if you've shot with the Sony mirrorless systems, you probably know just like me that you really can't put limits on these things. I mean, I shoot at lower shutter speeds than 1,000th of a second, and I don't get the blur that people talk about. Like, here's 800th of a second at ISO 1000, and I probably didn't even need to be at ISO 1000, but I just was, because I do like to have my photos just a little overexposed a little bit, because I don't want to get into too much. But if you overexpose your photos just a stop or so, when you bring down the exposure a little bit, it doesn't do that much to it. It doesn't mess with the photo at all. But if you underexpose a photo too much and it's dark and you try to brighten it up with your exposure, that's when you start introducing grain. But there's 800th of a second, guys, right there at ISO 1000. I mean, and I'd use that all day, every day. So the thing that I want to show to people is that there are no limits that these mirrorless cameras. I mean, people cannot say that these lenses, these camera systems cannot be professional grade cameras. The Sony A9 is on another level. It is on another level. It is every bit as good as any, if not better. And I think better, because I shoot it now exclusively, better than the Canon and Nikon systems for me. Now, maybe you don't think so, and that's fine. But if you've not shot these, you really can't even chime in. You can make comments and say that it'll never be as good as a DSLR, and you're wrong, in my opinion. Until you shoot these camera systems, you really don't have an opinion that I really want to value hearing about. Because if you've shot these as much as I had these camera systems for the last 3 years, and they've done so much for my photography in general, and made my photography better, and made me a better photographer, because of there's things about these Sony mirrorless cameras that just make me faster, like being able to see my exposure adjustments on the fly. I see the scene get darker or brighter. I see what adjusting shutter speed and f-stop does right on the screen, and I see it right away. Now, being a professional photographer, I already knew all that stuff. I knew how to look at my exposure meter and all that. But if you're a new photographer, it's just learning, that's one of those things where, you have to chimp a little, which chimping is basically looking at your camera to see if you got the shot. With this camera system, with the Sony camera systems, I don't have to guess. I know I got it. If I see it in my camera, that's what I got. I mean, that's exactly what you're seeing right now is exactly what I saw in my camera eyepiece. You know what I mean? So it's not like I have to guess. I didn't have to go back and look and see if I got the shot. I mean, I rattle off, and just to say this, I've said it in my other videos, but the Sony A9 shoots 20 frames a second, guys. Now, that's really ridiculous. Most people are not going to rattle off 20 frames per second, but you can. And you don't even touch the buffer. When it's buffering, it doesn't slow down, guys. It just will not slow down. I mean, this is at 1,000th second f6, okay, and I'm not close to him. This is in super crop, Okay, this is in super crop. So I've not cropped this as straight out of camera, but I do have it set on super crop on my camera system just to give me that added. So basically when I'm talking about super crop, I turned a 100-400 lens by putting it in super crop mode. I turned it into a 150 to 600 millimeter lens, which guys, okay, to turn a lens into a 600 millimeter lens, if you look on the sidelines and you see sports photographers with these huge lenses, that's probably a 600 millimeter lens. That's what you're thinking of when you look down there and you see those monster lenses. But the cool thing is that the 100-400 lens is nowhere near that size, and it's nowhere even close to that weight. And just to let you know, all these were handheld. I did not have a monopod on this camera at all. So I will tell you that these Sony mirrorless systems and these longer telephoto lenses for the Sony system, I believe are going to be able to be handheld. I mean, they do have in-body stabilization for the Sony A9, and most of the Sony systems do have in-body stabilization, and then when you combine that with, optical stabilization with the lenses too, steady shot and all that stuff. I mean, gosh, you really can do some amazing things handheld that I found I couldn't do before. But like I say, as close as you want to be. I'm pulling this up off my iPad as well, so let's just take that in for a minute. This is coming off my iPad. This is not photos coming off my computer. I'm bringing it on my iPad. My iPad Pro is pulling this up. So these are not even as great of photos as they look once I pull them up on my computer. They look even better. A lot of these are just, they're generated from the iPad. They're giving me basically not as original quality as what I'll have when I pull it up in the computer, but he's not moving there, but let me pull up something with some action here. All right, let's see. A lot of people say that with fast moving things, you just can't shoot at the shutter speeds, lower shutter speeds than 1/1000th of a second because of the blur. But, there's 800ths of a second. And John Kelly's one of the fastest, running backs. He's a jitterbug on the field. He is fast moving, but as you can see, not one of these shots is he out of focus. Not one. Not one. He's not out of focus. He's not blurred. I'm not seeing those things. So I'm not saying that guys that say you shouldn't shoot lower than 1/1000th of a second are wrong, but I will tell you that, the cool thing is that I tried to stay at 1/1000th of a second a lot of times, and then all I had to do is bump up my ISO to stay there when it got darker later in the evening during the game. And that's the difficult part, is when you have to bump up your ISO to keep your shutter speeds up there. So if I'm at 1/1000th of a second there at ISO 1000, a lot of times when I was shooting Canon or Nikon, at 1000 ISO, you still see a little bit of things here and there. It's not, you see a little bit of what they call noise or grain, and you get up there in the 6400 ISO, 12,000 ISO. Those are usually, most sports photographers aren't going to shoot that high unless they're just shooting for a publication that it's not going to be something printed. But a lot of the things that I shoot, I print. So here's this is a cool one here, but this is an actual sack here, and I got every bit of it, every single bit of this. Okay, this is Colton Jumper sacking from early in the first quarter. Okay, and it stayed locked on him the entire time. Every one of these photos is just locked. Continue autofocus. Look, even the people that I'm not necessarily trying to be locked on and focused on, the 600 and some odd focal points on the Sony mirrorless system, it covers 93% of your sensor. It's going to catch it, guys. If you point at it, it's going to hit it. And then you yourself can go in and crop these even tighter, however you want them. That's an amazing photo. I would put that in any article. I would put that in any newspaper and be perfectly happy with it. So I'm just blown away with the photos. I'm going to get to halftime. just to kind of show you, because they actually honored Peyton Manning at halftime. He's being inducted into the College Hall of Fame, and so he got to come out, and they honored him, and he invited all the other legends that are in the Hall of Fame as well out as to come out there and kind of be with him. And so it was a real treat. Johnny Majors was there. Phil Fulmer was there. I mean, look at old Phil looking good. But like I say, what a really cool experience to be able to be on the field and get to shoot this momentous occasion. I was really honored to be out there. And the Sony A9 captured it all. Now look at this right here. Peyton Manning, University of Tennessee quarterback, 1994 to 1997. Look at that young Pate. There we go. I mean, there's his dad, Archie, right there with him. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than this, guys. I mean, here's Carrie again at halftime, and Carrie's always so lovely. She takes the great photos, and she'll always kind of smile for me. Let me find one of her right here when she smiled for me. Always being so nice and smiling for the camera. Yeah, let's see. Yeah. So like I said, last year I did Carrie and her and Andrew Vogel's senior photos together, and they turned out amazing. And that was all with my Sony system. But like I said, the Sony A9 is the camera that I've been waiting on for sports photography. It is the camera that all of us that shoot Sony have been waiting on. But what's really cool, now after halftime I kind of messed up, and I left it on autofocus single. So this being long run by John Kelly kind of got messed up because I was in single autofocus, and so everything in the background stayed in focus, and as he was coming at me, it didn't focus because it wasn't continuously focused. It stayed locked on the background, or the distance that I was locked in at the beginning. So all of these came back blurry, but that was my fault. And and just to kind of give you an idea, they called this a fumble. Now I'm gonna show this to you. It's blurry, but I may have the only photo that has his knee down before the ball comes out. I don't know where it was. See, if the ball is out at that point. Okay, you see the ball right there? The ball's out there. But let me go back. When was his knee down? Let's go back. So there, his knee was down right there. That ball's not out. You can see it. It's right there. You see it? It's not out. It's not out yet. As a matter of fact, that might even be the ball right there. Him trying to grab it out of there. So let's see. He's pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down. It's not out. It's not out. Now it's out. So you be the judge. Was that a fumble? I know it was blurry. That was my fault. Single autofocus, but I don't know if that was a fumble. Of course, that wouldn't have decided the game, but it was pretty much a heartbreaker. That was a really long run for John Kelly that was turned into a turnover. All right, let's see. All right, here's a cool one. This was probably one of the only pass interferences that were called, but this was at thousandths of a second, f5.6. But look at this, guys. I mean, this Sony A9 guy, I'm telling you what. I mean, look at this. I mean, this camera blows me away. The Sony mirrorless blows me away, absolutely. So, even all the way down here into when Jarrett Garantano comes in the game, and this is late in the game. I mean, look at these photos. We're at ISO 2000, 800ths of a second. I mean, and no blurry photos. I mean, every single shot is locked on. I mean, look at the linemen. The linemen are in focus. I mean, everybody's locked on. I mean, there's just, get out of here. I mean, this camera and this lens was amazing. I'm going to have, the only problem with this is that I've rented it, and now I have to have it. I have to have the 100-400 after this. So, you can be the judge. I've taken you through these photos. You can decide on whether or not, you think mirrorless is going to be the next big thing. But it's already coming. I mean, you've not missed the boat. It's not too late. And a lot of people don't want to switch over, like I said earlier, because, like I said, they've got thousands of dollars invested in their systems and lenses. But, if you're somebody just starting out, there's old Jacob Eason right there coming in late in the game. I can't recommend this this camera system enough to you. I mean, and of course, a lot of these down here are with my A7 II, which I'm not talking about today. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it from here. Like I said, I just wanted to show you some of the photos from the Sony A9, and you can be the judge on whether or not you think it's, you know, good enough to be considered a professional sports camera. You know, for me, this camera is the best shooting sports camera that I've ever put my hands on, and I love the A6000, and people used to laugh when I brought that thing out. I thought that thing was amazing. So anyway, you will not be disappointed if you go out and buy the Sony A9. I mean, it's expensive. It's $45.99 just for the body, but you're not going to be disappointed at all. You're gonna fall in love with this. There's a little face mask that didn't get called. Hey, look at that. Anyway, this is Jason with Napier Photography. Thank you guys for watching my video, and be sure to like and subscribe, and like I say, stay tuned for more, you know, reviews and photo shoots with all my camera systems with Sony. My Sony A7 II, my A9, and my A6000. Thank you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.